Previously on agentpalmer.com, Coupland's Tomb Raider guidebook is an artifact in its own right. The cap is more about life than it is about survival, and since last episode, Steph and I have been getting more sleep. This is the Palmer Files, episode 151, with the return of my lovely wife, Stefanie, who is back to talk about our adventures as new parents. From coming home with a baby to adapting to a new normal that is constantly changing, we're surviving. But how? Are you ready? You may just hear Lil Palmer. Let's do the show! Hello and welcome to the Palmer Files. I'm your host, Jason Stershic, also known as Agent Palmer, and on this 151st episode, my wife Stefanie has returned to join me in telling the tale of our adventures as new parents. Like the last episode, we don't pull any punches. We talk about having a 2-month-old and what we've learned along the way. Things like teamwork really does make the dream work. Talking about surviving the first couple months while wondering how we did it. And of course, we touch on the concept that babies have no self-preservation whatsoever. But first, remember that if you want to discuss this episode as you listen or afterward, you can find all related ways to contact us in the show notes. Don't forget, you can see all of my writings and rantings on agentpalmer.com. And of course, email can be sent to thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we talked all about pregnancy and trying, and now we're in the recovery room. We don't have to go through that much in the recovery room other than I felt, I want to say this, okay?
Uh-huh.
I felt like a second-class citizen. We were married. It's not like you were unwed. We were married.
Yeah.
I'm your husband.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had any question at all, most of the nurses were like, why is he talking?
Yeah.
And
But basically, I also wanted you to answer questions on my behalf. I was like, I am not
You were
in the
not-
mood. I'm
you were
exhausted.
out of it.
I'm like, I just had a child. Like I'm yeah. And sometimes they'd be coming in several times and because they were needing to take my vitals, they'd be coming in the middle of the night, and I'm like, what? And be asking questions. There's paperwork and all this other stuff. So I was like, no, like, look at him.
I filled out the paperwork. They were surprised by that. It's like, what? No, what? Like,
I just wonder if maybe like they weren't used to that. Like they weren't used to the husband and father wanting to be that actively involved. And I mean, I get it. A lot of the things you couldn't answer because there were things like they're asking me constantly, like how I was feeling, what I was doing, like.
But beyond that, there were questions about like other things. Yeah. And it's like, no, I mean, I've already, at this point, like, you know, within the first night, like, I let you sleep. I changed the first few diapers.
Mm-hmm.
I did the first few feedings because obviously we were on formula.
Yeah.
So I was able to.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me started on the racket that is formula. That's a whole different podcast for a whole different time.
Yeah.
But so we end up staying an extra night. Yeah. Because of your significant tear, and they wanted you to recover.
And the doctor were like, you should stay another night, just so we can keep an eye on you, just so we can make sure things are fine. I didn't have a lot of pain. I think they were slightly surprised about that as well. I mean, they gave me...
And fast forward a month, the doctor was like, well, you've healed up magnificently.
Yeah, I Wolverined it.
Yeah, you Wolverined it. So, and my parents came back the next day. We kept it really minimal. Like there were a lot of people within driving range that we could have had visit us at the hospital. My parents came back the next day just to kind of like, you know, look, sleeping. Neither you nor I were getting a lot of sleep.
No, I was a little bit better off than you because I was in a bed. You were in the hospital sofa pull-out bed, or the hospital sofa that turned into a bed that was not.
And by the window, so it was always cold.
Yeah,
like,
you might as well have been sleeping on the floor or sleeping on like a stone slab. Like it wasn't very comfortable for you.
It was bad.
I felt bad.
But I got enough sleep. My parents came by the next day, and then they met us here at the house when we brought him home.
Yeah. Do we want to go into any of the procedures and additional things that he had to go through? because there were a lot of people that came in and out, not only just for me but for him. Like they tested his hearing right there in the room with us.
No, I mean, it's there.
It was interesting.
There's a lot of
stuff they do in the room with you. Like they don't really take the babies
away
they don't
from
take
you
them
away
much.
from. No, outside of the first time when they did
his measurements,
and the
stuff.
APGAR score, like everything was done with one exception.
Which was a circumcision.
That
one they have to take him away.
They took him away.
They can't do that in the room.
So,
but a lot of the other stuff they did there in the room.
Everything else was done in the room. The hearing test, the eye test, I think there was a reflex test. There was a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
We learned he doesn't like being swaddled.
No.
Which was great.
No.
Because then we didn't have to learn.
He didn't like being naked. So he didn't like being unswaddled, even though he didn't like swaddle. He didn't like being unswaddled and being out of a diaper. We decided that we were gonna do the photos in the hospital. So the hospital hires
the hospital.
They have a professional photographer that they come in and
they partner with or whatever.
They partner
so we got a bunch of good photos.
And that was
there.
It was really nice. She really knew what she was doing. Like she got some great photos. So she basically went over everything, went over the packages, and she kind of conscripted you again. Just to hold him and turn this way, turn that way, do this way. Use your hands like this and stuff. And
he ended up wearing one of my onesies.
Yeah,
we had brought
my
parents had.
We brought some outfits. Yeah,
and so, but eventually, we finally get to go home, which is great.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to be like. It's nothing against the hospital. It's not cramped. There's plenty of room, but like
food was actually really good.
Food
was good. We got to order food several times.
So we came home. My parents got us dinner.
Yes.
And it was kind of like, all right, well, we're home now. Now what? Have fun. Like, by the way, like he was waking up, newborns wake up every hour or two to feed. They don't eat a lot, but they eat often.
Yeah.
And we're recording this same as the previous episode, many weeks later. So we're sleeping better as a family, but we're not sleeping through the night.
Yet. No, we're not.
But we are new parents. And that's what this one's about. The first one's all about the arrival of our wonderful
bundle of joy.
Now you're a mom. You're a mom now.
I'm a mom. I very quickly came to the realization, like, oh, I'm a mom now. Like this is how this feels. And it I don't want to say it was odd. It wasn't odd. It just suddenly felt right.
Well, that's it. That's a nature thing, right? That has to be.
It absolutely is.
But
But you're still completely worried that you're gonna screw up or you're gonna mess up or stuff. But,
I had mentioned
a lot
before,
of things came naturally.
I had mentioned before we read some books.
Yes, we did, which I think were very helpful.
And we had cousins of mine who have a 3-year-old.
He's almost 3, I think. Yeah.
Who and cousins of mine that had
a 2-month-old.
A 2-month-old. But we were talking to the parents that had been sleeping for a while
because we didn't want to bother the ones that were currently in the position that we're in, where it's like they were just
and so
going through it.
Any questions we had, obviously. Every pregnancy is different. Every mother and father is different. Every child is different. But there are just questions.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest ones, one of the greatest pieces of advice we got was, if anybody wants to give you anything, take it.
Take it. Yeah.
And part of that is there's enough decisions along the way and even afterwards that if somebody gives you a crib, you don't have to shop for a crib. It's not that it's just anything you can get, great.
Yeah, our baby registry list was
so minimal that it sold out in but it was very economical.
Yeah.
It was not, there was nothing over $100. There was nothing over, I know that.
Well, the one, the Tula, the baby, the carrier thing.
Okay, maybe that was
over.
But it was not by much.
It was a little bit more than that, but that was one of our big ticket items.
That was our only big ticket item. We didn't have a bunch. And
because it's like this baby carrier, basically like a baby Bjorn, but better because it converts and allows for different positions and things, and will grow with your child. So
one
it was a little bit more expensive.
We didn't give out the registry until after the arrival.
Yeah, we
but
waited.
What it meant was when we
no
did
cart
come
before the
home,
horse.
there was a castle of Amazon packages.
Yeah.
To get
because
through.
we gave the registry out
while we
from
were in
the hospital while we were in there because
hospital.
we're like, people can start shopping and stuff, but then it immediately.
And
immediately.
So, I will say.
Yeah, so a lot of people are like, we don't know what to get, and then we're like, diapers, formula, gift cards, because we're going to need diapers and formula.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but we have everything. I don't want more.
No, we got a hand-me-down crib, which we were very grateful for. It's still
we
great
bought
condition.
a transportation system ourselves because you have to have a way to get the kid home
from the hospital. So we had the car seat and the
well, it was a transportation system. It was a car seat,
stroller,
a carrier, and stroller
all in one. We didn't need the stroller. We only took the car seat with us, but
and so but you're a mom now.
Yeah.
You haven't been back to work yet.
No.
As we record this, I think by the time this releases, you'll be back to work. But I am working. Although I we both work from home and I set my own hours, so it's okay. But being a dad is it's weird because I still want to do my stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm like, should I though?
Yeah. I mean, there's still things that I feel the urge to do. Like I very heavily got into a specific game on my Switch while I was pregnant because it was kind of helping keep me sane. And so, yeah, I still want to play that because it's fun. And I think even as a new parent, it'll help keep me sane. But there's not a lot of time for that anymore. Even at night when we're awake with him, I may look at something on my phone or turn something on the TV because that's easier than turning on the Switch.
I've been doing. I recently, after a month of turning on the TV with him, for 3 or 4 or 5 a.m. feeding, I've now switched to music, which has been great, because I feel like it's not as distracting to you, especially because he's still in the room with us.
Yeah,
and
we're taking turns. One of us is usually asleep while the other one is
especially because when there's 2-hour shifts or a 3-hour shift, if you skip one, somebody can get 4 hours of sleep or something.
Yeah.
But
which has been helpful. Yeah. And that's been the hardest part.
Sleep. Well,
because
the
sleep.
lack of sleep is one of the symptoms that leads to the sickness of lack of communication, because I thought I told you that.
Yeah.
And we've been, so when you first bring a baby home from the hospital, you track what goes into their body and what comes out of their body.
Yeah. You track poop and pee and how much they eat. Yeah.
We stopped worrying about the outs once he became regular. And after the 1 month when the doc's you don't have to track this anymore. We've continued to monitor the in because the memory is
we can't
gone.
Remember how much he's eaten, how long it's been.
How long has it been? How much? Yeah. And we have a general idea, and obviously he's eating more and more, which is great.
Yeah.
But
that's also the hardest part as well is trying to figure out how much to give him and how much he'll eat because it changes. It still changes so much.
As I alluded to in the previous episode, is the biggest waste.
It is. We waste so much, and it's something that you asked in the hospital.
I asked in the hospital because, so they give you these 2-ounce, 59 milliliter bottles to feed the baby in the hospital. Yeah. And the doctor's if he eats 10 milliliters, that's great. 15's great. And then once you open one of those bottles, it's good for an hour, and you got to throw it away, and he's not going to eat it within the hour. So you're basically throwing away a mostly full bottle.
Majority, yeah.
And as he goes along and babies go along, they eat a little bit more and a little bit more, but just that's the way. That's not those things. Formula in general is once it's open, it's good for 24 hours in the fridge, and once it's in a bottle at room temperature, it's only good for an hour.
And that's our your parents were surprised by that. Everyone who's told was surprised by that because they're used to they're used to preparing things ahead of time, making several bottles, keeping them in the fridge, so that it was all prepared ahead of time. We can't prepare anything ahead of time.
And that's been kind of this. So there are a couple things. overall, when we talk about being a new parent, number one, from my cousins, babies have no self-preservation skills whatsoever.
Nope.
Maybe you should swallow while you're drinking that much.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't have to. I'm just going to...
Don't sleep at the same time as drinking.
Don't drink and sleep. Nope, sleeping... Nope, no, that's not good. And maybe you don't have to try and yeet yourself off of whoever's holding you, like from one shoulder to the next or from one...
Yeah, or suddenly just whip the head around and basically slam your head into your mom's lip and kind of cause her to have a swollen lip.
That's part of it. Yep, you had a swollen lip.
Yep.
But the other piece is just how, and look, formula baby, which means he didn't lose any weight at birth.
No, he lost some.
He lost some, a little, but not much.
Not very much
compared to what just straight
the pediatrician
breastfeed
was pretty happy with what he did lose, and then he gained it very quickly.
But
he gained it back and then some.
I will say, we have a lot of our friends and family, but mainly our friends that we talk to on a regular basis run the gamut from younger than us to older than us, and to be our parents. And so
our parents' age, yeah.
During that first 2 weeks, when people would come by to visit,
bring gifts,
see
the baby,
him, see how we're doing,
sanity checks,
and just talking about how things have changed.
Yeah.
Even like friends of ours that have a 20-year-old, things have changed in 20 years. I'm over 40, so anybody my parents' age or older that's, it's like
I have a niece that's 10 and things have changed in the last 10 years.
And so those conversations about the things that have changed.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, not always for the better. Sometimes it's just a lateral move. It's like, oh, well, now we do this.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. But I will say, thank God they're cute. Because, like, when he's a terror, not often. Really lucky.
He's a very good baby.
He's a very good baby.
He is.
But
he doesn't cry a lot. He just cries when he needs something, really.
Yep.
When he's hungry and when he's peed himself because he hates having a wet diaper. That's another thing that we had to get used to. I mean, I like I said, I have a niece, so I've changed diapers before, but boy is a girl so much different than a boy.
So I will say this:
he christened his room when we first brought him home.
So you slept, that first night, and obviously, in the hospital, you've got nurses as backup, so you can help. You can ask for help, like, can you change the baby, or
you had changed his diaper way more times than I had by the time we got home.
But that was my first. I had babysat before, like people in diapers. I'd never changed the diaper.
Out of the two of us, I was the only one that had actual experience changing diapers
until we got home.
Yeah.
At which point I was up to speed. It doesn't take long. To figure that out.
And we had started early on. We were tag teaming poop diapers because, as I said, he'd christen his room. While I was trying to change him, just pee everywhere, pee on the. You
just have to get used. I mean, with boys, you have to get used to that. And
you got to be speedy. You got to kind of
do
things to kind of make sure that you're covering it as best as possible. So I learned pretty quickly. I caught on fairly quickly. And then after a while, we no longer had to tag team diaper changes. I was able to kind of do it on my own.
Yeah, and we still do a bunch of things that, like, we could probably do solo, but we don't.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll wake up with you at 3 a.m. and I'll get the bottle.
While I go and change him, so that by the time I get back, there's already the bottle. And you go to sleep and I feed him.
Yeah, and there's a lot of overlap as far as, like, well, he's crying because he's hungry and he wet himself, and so the two things need to happen in rapid succession, and so you help out. But I will say, looking forward, and this will be interesting. I'm sure it'll come up on the podcast in future episodes, but like I will be the primary caregiver when you go back to work.
Yeah.
Not really scared so much as like I don't know as we go further. Like Babies sleep a lot.
They do.
And that's fine.
But things start to change.
Yeah. And
as they get older.
I just keep thinking, like, am I going to be able to keep him interested for long enough when he's awake?
Yeah.
I don't mind reading. We'll
read to him,
but
we can start to play with toys and stuff. But that's the other thing that has changed a lot. God. Is like it's a wonder that we survived as children.
How did we survive? In our cribs.
We had
according
bumpers,
to our parents, we had bumpers, we had blankets, we had
pillows,
toys. Yep. Not allowed to have any of that anymore.
Now it's
not within the first year.
Yeah. Now it's like nothing in the crib. Like it's basically a crib. You can have a sheet and a baby, and that's it. There's nothing else in the crib.
Nothing.
It's crazy.
Again, it's those things that have changed, which is kind of whatever. But
he's not allowed to sleep on his stomach. It has to be on the back.
That's not new, but it's new since we were babies.
Yeah. It's changed. Sort of like it used to be like, oh, they should always sleep on their back, and then they should always sleep on their stomach. Now it's back to only sleep on the back, and which makes sense because that's supposed to help avoid them suffocating. Because when they're this young, they can't roll over on their own. Although he's a little baby genius already, and
he's not a baby genius.
He is because he.
He's an only child already. You're gonna give him a complex.
It's fine. We do tummy time because they say to do that so that they can start to build the muscles in their neck. He hates tummy time. He hates being on his stomach, and so he has very quickly learned to roll over already. I think he rolls over to the left, to the right. I can't remember how he rolls over, but only in one direction. But the fact that he's already rolling over in one direction is very early for his age.
You haven't finished the second book yet. I've read the second book. It's fine.
No. But it's true. They start to learn to roll over in one direction, but he already started it fairly early.
I don't. It's fine.
He can't do it in both directions, and that's what continues to progress. But that's not till like 3 or 6 months, like that he starts to roll over in both directions.
I still think it's fine that he can't move on his own. Well, it's great.
Well, yeah, because
I don't have to worry about like where are you going.
We're gonna have to like baby proof.
That's the thing. We're recording this, with a less than 2-month-old, so we haven't had the baby proof anything yet because he can only go somewhere when we take him. We have gone outside.
Many walks, in a stroller.
When it gets warmer because it's still fairly cold.
Yeah, it's still very cold for the time of year, which sucks. But
we've gotten him outside. He's gotten some vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
We've taken him around to the neighbors.
Yep.
And if
that was also funny. Like there were several neighbors who apparently did not notice that we were pregnant.
You didn't care. Like we didn't talk about this, but you didn't care. Like until the
People
very
were
end,
surprised. Like
you didn't carry. Like you didn't look.
I wasn't
pregnant.
huge. Yeah, no. It was all in the stomach. Like the stomach was the big thing, and
it was winter. We didn't go out a lot.
We didn't go out.
We work from home. It's not like there's other people that are seeing you. When people see you, it's from the neck up, like it's in a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like they're seeing all of you. You're not walking into a room at a meeting.
Yeah.
So I'll say there were a few neighbors when we were walking around. Like, is that yours?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, oh, did you have a baby? Yeah, we did. When? A month ago. Yeah.
Now we didn't talk about this in the previous episode. Were you? I mean, we talked about having a kid for quite a while.
Yeah.
It took me a while to convince you.
Yeah. I was not sure. Early on, I wasn't sure if I wanted kids. Kid. Yeah, or kid. Once we started dating, still wasn't entirely sure. But once I started hanging out with my niece more, I think I started to get that kind of urge to want to have a child of my own, one that I could play with and talk to and just love. And so I think I was probably easier to convince by that point. Although had I known all the stuff that was going to happen to me during my pregnancy, I think that's also why I'm like, yeah, definitely one and done. Because it sure was not easy, but worth it. I think definitely worth it.
So I always kind of expected to have a child.
Yeah.
I had also always anticipated having one. Now, that could be the only child thing.
Yeah.
I didn't feel the need to go like, well, I have to have two.
Yeah. You have to have, 2.5 and a picket fence, right?
Yeah, who wants to have 0.5 anyway?
I never understood that.
Well, it's the average.
I know it's the
There's
average.
enough people that have
statistic.
2 and 3, but like,
yeah. But still,
people are having less and less kids as it is.
Yeah, and later and later.
And later and later. We're not
abnormal to be in like our late
for right now
30s, early 40s.
Compared to like everything, we're not abnormal.
No.
Or compared to everything, we're not. Compared to everything, we are abnormal. But compared to the modern stuff,
yeah,
we're not abnormal.
I just watched the baby's like face just slowly slide across his chest, just like his lips like slowly dragging along. It was hilarious because he's very sleepy. He was asleep for a while now, for a little while while we were doing this, but he has started to wake up.
You want to say anything?
Say hi.
No. Oh, no, I want to spit up.
Fun. He does that a lot. Babies do that.
That's not going to work well on Mike. Yeah. So, 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
I never envisioned more than one.
Yeah.
Always one.
And I was like, I was like,
I think when I convinced you to have a kid, it was because I convinced you to have a kid. I wasn't like, hey, let's have a brood.
Yeah. Well, and you even were like, let's have one and then maybe we'll think about it. It was like,
no, I never said that.
No, I'm saying it wasn't that you said like,
yeah.
That you said, let's have one and then we'll see. It was always just like one.
Truth be told,
let's have one.
I was surprised you were so amicable in trying again after the first. I know it was only, a very early non-viable pregnancy, but like, yeah. I had it in my head that it was going to be like, all right, we'll try. And if it don't work, it don't work.
Yeah. I think because I already thought this to myself, like had it not worked the second time, I don't know if I would have tried a third time.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like we could keep going until it worked, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
And like this,
it happened early on in the first one that it was, I don't want to say it was easy to get over, but it wasn't that we were like that invested yet. And
it barely hit me that you were pregnant by the time that one.
Yeah, that didn't work. Yeah. So it's like, I think depending on maybe if it hadn't worked the second time, at what point it didn't work the second time would probably have had some bearing on it potentially. But it definitely was, I think, because this worked out. Great. We're done. We don't have to do it again. But yeah, there were several times during the pregnancy that I thought, would I do it again if this doesn't work out? And so
you really thought about that. I didn't. I was like, I think, especially when we got into the third trimester, I was like, all right, well, this is it.
Yeah, it was early on, like a couple times throughout, I think, because as things kind of kept happening, like with the gestational diabetes and then being driven crazy about kick counts and if you keep track of this and let us know if you start to bleed or lose fluids or all this other stuff, and you think about that, especially I think as the person that is actively pregnant and trying to create a being inside you. You sometimes think about things like what happens if something goes wrong? Will you try again?
So here's the thing. All things being, what they are and how they have worked out.
Yeah.
Like what surprised you the most?
Like about all of it?
About all of it. Whether it's the pregnancy stuff, the new parent stuff.
I mean, how quick it went for us. Because that's something that like, you were hesitant to tell some of the female family members about how quick my labor went.
I was so afraid to tell people like, oh, she was only in labor for 25 minutes.
Yeah. Because we didn't want them to be jealous.
And a few people were like, good for you, congratulations. And a few people like, yeah, that's kind of, I told the boys.
Yeah.
I was like, this is how it went down.
Yeah. And because, I think that was the surprising thing was just how quickly it happened, and he was here. And I think it was a huge just relief to finally have him out. We could see him. We could see how he was doing.
We could see his face because he didn't like being, I mean, we didn't talk about this, but like sonograms with this child. He's photogenic, kinda, but like he doesn't like his photo being taken.
Yeah. But it was hard to get all of the required photos of him in an ultrasound. He was not cooperative.
Yeah.
And now we've taken so many photos and things, but it was just nice to have him on the outside and being able to hold him and see him. But I think
there's a lot. Like, I mean, there's definitely a lot, and I like that we read the books and we talked to people. We had people to talk to,
mm-hmm.
but and I know every child's different, but like a little bit of help is like useful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's unknown. Sure, I don't know what I'm doing. Sure, you'll figure it out like everybody does.
Yeah,
sure, but like, it is nice to like have a little bit of help, or like have somebody be like, "Hey, you're doing okay." Right.
Yeah. I have to say I do appreciate that your parents, your godparents, like they're like, you're doing a good job. You guys are doing a good job. Don't worry. It's like we know because.
Well, I mean, the measuring
alive.
stick is the child still alive?
Yeah.
Right. Like that. Yeah. It's a very basic measuring stick.
Is he being
for now.
fed? Is he healthy? All of that stuff.
Once we get into school age and like education and stuff, that's a different thing. But like for now, like
it's still nice to like hear that you're doing a good job.
Yeah, because I don't know that like if we were more isolated, like if we lived hours and hours or a plane ride away from everybody.
Yeah.
We wouldn't get that kind of reinforcement. And I don't know how people do it I don't need that reinforcement, but it's nice to hear.
Yeah.
And within the first 2 weeks, I made sure my parents came twice, additionally to check on us.
Yeah.
I was less worried about the child.
Yeah.
I was much more worried about like, am I going to be talking out of, like, am I going to be making nonsense? Am I going to be sleepwalking?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know, because lack of sleep does a lot of stuff.
Does things. And I think we were still much, much better than I think we could have been because he was giving us like 2-hour chunks of sleep. So it was kind of one of those things where like we were still getting by. Like we were getting about 5 or 6 hours of sleep.
And that's still what we're getting.
Yeah. But that's still a significant amount. Like there are cases like that people have said like, oh, like we've
talked to people
1 to 2
that
hours and
we've talked to people that genuinely had colicky babies.
Yeah.
And so that's
and
how
getting any sleep.
That's how we know we don't have a colicky baby.
He's basically he's a good baby. Like we're lucky. Because it could be so much worse and we could be getting so much less sleep. It would be nice to get a little bit more sleep, but we know we'll get there. And we keep being told like you'll get there. It'll get better. As he gets older, he'll sleep longer and longer, and you'll get more and more sleep, and you won't feel like zombies some days.
Most days.
But yeah, I think that But other than that, like nothing's really been that surprising. Everything's just been kind of as a result of certain things that you have to do, like. You have to learn to change diapers. You have to know that you're going to be doing a lot of laundry because they spit up on everything. So you got to make sure you have a ton of spit cloths handy and then wash those. And then you could go through 2 or 3 or 4 outfit changes in a day because he'll either pee in one or spit up on one.
Yeah, don't get attached to it. You look good. Take a picture now.
Yeah, there were several Orioles onesies that he has where we wanted to make sure we got pictures of all of them to send to people. And there was one day where we couldn't get a picture of one
because went through four of them. We went through all four of them.
He didn't have the one on for very long for us to get a photo of it before we had to change him out of it. There was one time that he was in a legless onesie that he pooped so much that Mom had to change her pants.
Yep.
Because he'd been sitting on me, and it got out of his diaper and onto me. But yeah, so our laundry has to get done a lot more because of getting spit up on and pooped on. But that's all a part of having a baby. Like you're constantly doing laundry, cleaning up after them, washing bottles, letting bottles dry, making bottles, buying formula. God, formula and diapers are so expensive. So expensive.
Yeah, I know.
It was surprising also how quickly he went from newborn diapers to ones.
Well, and it's funny because there are, not to get political, but there are people saying like, oh, people aren't having enough babies.
Yeah.
Like, well, there's no incentive, like genuinely,
yeah.
Unless you're one of those people that's like, I want to have 10 kids. Like, there's no incentive.
No.
Everything is.
And it's expensive.
It's so prohibitive.
It's so expensive.
To have a child. And we were prepared.
Yeah.
We're not rich, but we're okay.
Money set aside, and we knew that even though I get paid slightly for this, I get a slight pay for short-term disability for a certain number of weeks. That
healthcare the practitioners, the nurses, the doctors, wonderful.
Yes.
Healthcare, the industry, insurance, and payment. The worst.
Yeah. I am lucky that, and I say this, I am lucky that I am given by my job 12 weeks of what's now called bonding leave. They've stopped calling it maternity leave, which makes sense because the bonding leave can be either parent, and it's not just birth of a child. You could use it for adopting as well. So it's called bonding leave. I get 12 weeks. Depending on whether it's a vaginal delivery or a C-section, changes how much you get paid and how long you get paid. The fact that you did it on
natural gives you a lot less paid time.
I get less paid time off than I would for a C-section. So there's actually, I think, 1 week that I'm not getting paid at all during the 12 weeks because I decided to only use 3 weeks of my vacation instead of all 4 weeks.
Well, in case we want to do anything as a family
or
later
I needed
on.
for appointments and things later on for him. So I had to put in at least 3 weeks of my vacation. So 1 week of my vacation had to be used for the first week of the whole thing because you need a week of like a period where it takes time to kick in.
It is not like something that's easy.
No.
And they don't make it as you go along.
Yeah.
They don't make it any easier.
So it was
being a parent is not like you get used to it.
Yeah.
And you get into a rhythm.
Yeah.
It takes a while. And when you add on all those other things, it's a lot.
Yeah. And I needed regardless of what happens, it's about 6 weeks postpartum that you need to recover. To rest and everything. During that time, I'm not.
Yeah, as we record this, you can officially pick up such things that weigh more than the baby.
Yeah, because during the 6 weeks, you can't lift anything but the baby.
Yeah,
and
but that's
you shouldn't
good
be lifting
because
anything that's more than what the baby weighs.
And that's good because the baby's gaining weight.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of building up to it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things. But yeah, so I basically, in addition to the short-term disability that I got 2 weeks of paid bonding leave as part of the overall bonding leave. And then I said I used 3 weeks of vacation time to basically supplement some more of that. So with the vaginal delivery, I only go 1 week without getting paid. Had I had a C-section, I would have, with the 3 weeks of vacation plus the 2 weeks of bonding leave, been fully paid throughout the entire 12 weeks.
Yep.
But I'm like, 1 week not getting paid, that's fine.
Well, the recovery is vastly different as well. So you probably got.
I think despite the severe tear, I think I still am happy that it was vaginal, and I've now recovered and things are good. And I didn't have a lot of pain. Like even during the hospital, after the hospital, like I
every
had
visit, every subsequent
ibuprofen
visit you
and
had,
stuff
the doctors were always like,
take.
"Really?"
Yeah,
Like,
and
sure?
I had
Are you sure?
cooling pads. I really didn't need the cooling pads all that
telling us
often.
the truth, like
yeah, they always ask like, "What was your level of pain?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." So there was some things I had to get used to. There was a lot of swelling and discomfort and stuff, but not a ton of pain. And even now, like I'm tired and that's it. Like I didn't have any, no postpartum depression, which apparently could still happen because I guess there's this huge time frame.
They were telling us in the hospital, like it can happen within an hour.
It can happen within an hour
and
up to like a year after birth. It's crazy. But I didn't have any issues with that. I've been pretty happy. Just kind of, just really, really tired. And I think that's all definitely normal, and a little bit of frustration here and there, but again, that's normal as well.
I think that's lack of sleep,
and that's more like frustration, like with myself and also like with each other. Like sometimes because
it's that lack of communication because of the lack of sleep. Like,
yeah.
I told you that, right?
Yeah.
No,
you're like, no, you didn't say anything. And like, why didn't you say something sooner? It's like, well, I didn't know. So it's like all that's normal. And like even people are like, yeah, that's totally normal. Yeah, no, where else was I was going to say something else, and now I don't remember where I was going.
Don't look at me. I can't think for two.
Yeah, but I know we were talking about what we thought was surprising, and I said there wasn't anything else that was really surprising. Yeah, I mean, like I absolutely adore him. He's got an adorable face. I love when he looks at me. We've just gotten to the point where he's starting to get very, very expressive. Which I absolutely
he finally
love.
Smiles when he's not sleeping.
Yeah.
He used to, like, in the
only
very beginning,
smile when he was sleeping.
Only smile when he was sleeping. Now we get some smiles when he's awake.
Which was also adorable, but also it's like, what could he possibly be dreaming about that he's smiling while he's asleep? And we'll never know, because he can't talk right now. But yeah, so now he's starting to smile when he's asleep or awake, not just asleep. He's making all sorts of faces when we take photos. He's got this little smirk. We got a photo of him flipping off mom because why not?
Yeah, apparently that's, especially with camera phones. All of the parents I've sent that to that are like, have children in the camera phone era.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a flipping off.
A flipping off because it just
happens.
It just happens, especially if you're taking a succession of photos, which we are.
Or even if you as opposed to like if you needed a camera, like for our parents, that's probably a lot more rare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're constantly moving. So
and speaking of photos, people think he looks like me. People think he looks like you.
Yeah.
You and I do not look similar.
No.
So I don't know what people are thinking.
Yeah. But they both say both. Right now, we're very alike as we think he looks like him. He looks like himself.
He looks like himself.
And we won't know until he gets older what sort of attributes he has because he's still growing. Like it's one of those things where one person will say like, oh, he has your ears. He's got my ears, which I could guess I kind of see for now, but it's like the same thing with like the nose and everything, the forehead. It's like everything is going to change with him. We just know that he's got my dark hair
and your eyes
and my dark eyes.
Yep.
He may not have the exact same dark brown eyes that I have because I think they're slightly lighter than mine. We think, at least the doctor also thought that he's got maybe a little bit more of a hazel eye color going on. So he does have lighter brown, but that could change. They say that eye color could change up till 6 months. So we don't know. But he's adorable. Like I love him so much.
And that's kind of like the reward for now.
Yeah, it is. It's like we created this adorable little human, and he's ours, and we love him, and we hope he loves us. We hope that he appreciates all of the lack of sleep and everything that we're going through.
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, that's the thing. Like you and I both have pretty good relationships with our parents, so like, hopefully, pass that along.
Yeah.
As he snores into the microphone. Maybe not.
Well, you've lifted him now, so now he's no longer snoring.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think we did good. I think we continue to do good.
Yeah, we are.
And I guess, obviously, for those who listen along to the podcast on a regular basis, I'm sure it'll come up. So we'll see how things progress, but I'm sure you'll be back on for other reasons. But we'll probably have, they say the terrible twos. So, we'll figure out how we do. Maybe we'll, couple years, see how.
I think definitely once he starts talking, I think we'll see.
Yeah, well,
we'll have our own kids say the darndest things episode.
Yeah, we'll start writing those down.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right. Well, you did good, Mom.
You did too, Dad.
Not much has changed in the month since we recorded this, other than our baby is now sleeping in their own room, sleeping through most nights, and is now on the other side of 3 months old. We, on the other hand, are still getting our heads around our new normal. There are some things we learned that we have passed along to other soon-to-be parents already that I'd like to share with you because it just didn't come up in our conversation. Most importantly, you have to take care of yourself. There is a reason that in airplane drills, they tell you to put your mask on first. For us, especially during the very early sleepless or inconsistent sleep nights, this was small granola bars to be consumed throughout the night. Look, if you're not sleeping, you're gonna need energy. Tracking food, well, when we first came home, the doctor wanted us to track ins and outs. Once the baby is described as healthy, you can stop. We still track what the kid eats, when and how much, because trying to remember is not something else we want to do. It may seem like overkill, but not having to remember has helped us to create a schedule that we can then adjust as needed. But back to the babies have no self-preservation skills. Well, they don't. They rely on you. But remember, if you're listening to this, you had to rely on someone for your first few years too, and you made it through. So that's our story. That's where we are. Maybe there will be more updates. Maybe they'll be with Steph or just pop up on episodes as they get recorded. I'm a dad now. This is a part of my life. But I'm still a blogger, podcaster, editor, producer, and wear many other hats. This podcast will continue. I can tell you there are some great things coming up. Thanks for listening to the Palmer Files episode 151. And now for the official business. The Palmer Files releases every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. If you're still listening, I encourage you to join the discussion. You can find all related ways to contact us in the show notes. Stefanie Stershic was a special guest executive producer for this episode. The music for this episode was provided by Henno Heitur. Email and comments can be sent to the show at thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. And remember, your home for all things Agent Palmer is agentpalmer.com. All right, Steph, do you have one final question for us since I'm holding the baby?
Yeah. So, we just kind of talked about it. Who does he look more like, and when will he look more like one of us or either of us or neither of us? I guess along those lines, which attribute, or is there an attribute that you do hope he kind of takes after you, whether it's physical, otherwise?
Oh, I just know that I fear he's got my patience. I don't think he has your patience. I think he's got my patience, which is no patience.
I think he's got the patience of a baby. I think all babies don't have patience. So I think it'll be a while before we really see whose patience he has.
All right, well, if he grows out of my patience and into yours, that'd be great.
I am the more patient one, yeah.
I mean, we both read, we both write, we're both creative. I feel like that's just kind of there's a nature versus nurture thing, but
but I think he will naturally be more creative because of the fact that we are.
Well,
Plus,
again,
I mean,
it's
this kid
nature
already has more books for him than I think probably either of us had.
Well, that's the thing.
Up.
It's a nature versus nurture thing, but within the nature from both of his parents, there's a lot of creativity, and within the nurture, we're not going to beat that out of him, so we'll encourage that. Yeah. So I feel like that's going to happen. And obviously the tools that are going to be at his disposal by comparison to us.
So different.
And it's not just because well, kid, if you want to play an instrument, you've got a few in the house to choose from, right? Like it's not just that. It's not just, hey, if you want to do talk radio or podcasting, Dad's got microphones and mixers. Or if you want to do video stuff, like we've got cameras and editing software,
computer.
The amount of opportunities that even just this generation is going to have is different. But and I would say it's going to be a different world. So I don't know. I think at this point it's just, if you can get I like to think I'm fairly adaptable. Mm-hmm. So maybe my adaptability.
That's a good quality.
I don't know. I think that's just boy, I hope when I'm on my feet, making audibles in the moment, hope you pay attention. I think that's the only thing, is just what he sees.
Yeah.
But I don't know that there's anything else. I don't think there's it'd be nice if this child ends up being taller than me, or at least taller than you. But other than that, we look all along from the very beginning. Do you want a boy or a girl? Don't care.
We didn't care. No.
Just healthy.
I didn't care. All we cared about was,
and at this
a healthy
point,
baby.
I think it's just, it'll continue to be stay healthy, kid.
As long as he's happy and he's healthy, it doesn't matter.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain sports I would like him to stay away from.
There are there are more sports. What's on the list of sports he can play? Yeah.
He can play baseball. He can play soccer. He can play basketball. There was something else as well, but now I can't remember what it is. But I don't want him playing football. I don't want him.
I think soccer's out too.
It depends. If he really, really loved soccer, sure, that's fine.
Yeah, but be a defenseman. Your mother doesn't want you to do headers.
Lacrosse as well is scary because they smack each other with those sticks like crazy. Football's definitely out.
You can run.
Running, track would be fine. There's always going to be things that strain the body and cause issues, but yeah. And it's also,
stay away from head trauma. That's what your mother's telling you.
Yes, exactly. Now there's other ways that he could get head trauma, but hopefully he avoids those as well. And plus it's there's not a certain thing that I want him to do. As far as being creative, I just hope that he wants to be and is able to be creative, whether that's music, whether that's something there's not something that I'm hoping for one or the other.
I'm still rooting for my taste in music.
Hey, my taste in music is not that bad. It's just very varied, and maybe some of it is dumb and stuff, but you're allowed to like dumb music sometimes as long as it's entertaining. But
well, I just hope asked me.
I just hope he has.
You asked me. My taste in music.
Okay, fine. I just hope he's able to be, creative in some way, shape, or form, and that he gets to figure out what that is for himself.
And just remember, if you ever listen back to this, your parents love each other, and they're nuts.
Yep, but they still love you, and they always will.
And each other.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, until next time.
Yeah, our family of 2 has become a family of 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first episode was titled "You and Me Makes 3."
Yeah.
The second episode is going to be this one that you're listening to now will be probably just new parents or something. I don't know. This might not even make it.
New job.
Yeah.
Because you did tell
new job.
You did tell the people you're working with.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true. New job.
That you were going to get a new job. They thought you were leaving them. It's like, no, I'm becoming a father.
It's okay. You want to get the last word in? Huh? Maybe?
Say bye.
I don't. No. And he's
out.